Hello and welcome to episode 24 of Healthier and Happier Humans. I'm Ashley McGee and I am super excited to have our first ever interview on the show. My guest, Nora Lee Jones, also known as Mrs.Navy Mama. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
I
Excited.
I know this is like I'm bursting. I'm with excitement. Even my husband's like, "You have an interview today, right?" I was like, "You remembered." Anyway. So, first, tell me a little bit about yourself and your background.
Okay. My name's Nora Lee Jones. I'm a Navy wife of 7 years and a prior Coast Guard girlfriend, and civilian girlfriend and civilian wife. We just kind of went through different stages in life. And mother of four. My youngest is 2 months old. My oldest is 5.5. And I am a speech pathologist by trade, but now I'm a blogger and influencer working with military families of all branches. So
Awesome. And you just wrote a book about self-care for military spouses.
I did. It was a labor of love. It was, and I'm really proud of it actually, and I'm excited to share it with you. And I'm excited that you were able to take a look at it.
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, just from like start to finish, first of all, it's beautiful. But the content that you have in there, like it was like every page I was like, oh my gosh, this is so smart. Oh my gosh, like people need to see this. Like just I was so happy. So what inspired you initially to write the book?
Um, the biggest thing, I felt like there wasn't anything out there like it. So I saw a void and I wanted to fill it for myself. And then I decided to end up just kind of sharing it with everybody. I've never been like a health nut per se, but I've always been somebody who felt like my personal wellness and my growth as an individual was extremely important. And you can call it independence, you can call it, feminism, you can call it whatever. But I felt like it was, if I felt the effects of that on my family and my life and my job. And so I was always kind of digging for more things, but I noticed that military life, because as anybody who's in military life knows, it's way different than anything that's on the market right now, books wise. They don't really talk about that kind of stuff. They don't really address it. And so I did it for myself, and then I decided to do it for everybody else.
That's awesome. I love that. And that definitely comes through in your writing too. It's so personal. And it feels like, you're talking directly to that mil spouse, and the pain points just resonate. You're like, oh man, like, even like I'm dual military myself. So I'm a mil spouse, but I'm also active duty. So it was an interesting read for me to see also the perspective of, what happens when we deploy and there's someone still left at home. And my husband's actually on deployment right now, so I'm like kind of figuring that out. But it's a first for me, so it was definitely just really engaging and so personal, and just like cut right to the core of how it feels.
Yeah.
Okay, I
And
thought it
that's
was
really what it is. Cause like as a military spouse, now I've never been active duty, so I don't exactly know what that is like. But as a military spouse, we've gone through 7 deployments. We're about to get another one coming up soon, and they've all ranged from like 4 to 9 months of length. So every deployment has been different, and it's affected me and my family differently every single time.
yeah.
And that's the crazy thing about deployment, is that no 2 deployments are the same. And so you have to individually figure out what you need for your deployment at that particular time. And that's really what I wanted to resonate with this book, is that this is a personal journey. This is something for you to be able to guide you in your personal journey, not to dictate to you exactly, oh, go take a bubble bath and you'll feel better, but to really figure out what you need to fill your cup as a military spouse during a deployment, especially during a deployment. So
Yeah, that's so true too. Because so often it's like, it's like, oh, here. Okay,
sorry, 5-year-old.
yeah, no worries. Um, but yeah, so often it's like all this advice is out there and you're like, but that it doesn't actually fit with where I'm at, or, what even what you want to be doing, what feels like self-care. So I
Yeah.
love that it's like open-ended and structured at the same time, because you also
Yes, that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. You got it. You got it, Ashley. That's what I wanted.
oh, I'm so glad. Yeah. I
I
mean,
want it to be guided so that people could, if they weren't one of those people that can just come up with things on their own, that they have a place to start. You have a place to start and to build on.
yeah. And there were so, like, again, you had so many different suggestions too, where even as someone where I do self-care Sundays, like I give self-care tips every week. And there were some things in there where I'm like, I never would have thought of that. I love it. So that was like, it was really fun, like exploration, and the fact that I feel like you created a space for people to really love themselves where they are, whereas and it's just free of judgment. It's free. It's just like, hey, like, you got to take care of yourself. It's okay wherever you're at, but like, let me help you get there. And I thought that was
Exactly.
such a
Exactly.
yeah. So
Thank
like, you go into it a little bit in your intro, but I'd love for you to talk about, like, what does self-care mean for you? Like, what does that mean to you?
To me, self-care is not bubble baths, shopping sprees, although all those things are fun. I'm not going to take away from those things. I'm love getting my monthly massages. I love getting my mani-pedis when I have a chance. But to me, self-care is about filling your soul, filling your needs,
Mm-hmm.
filling what makes you feel human again, feel alive again. And that's different for every single person. Which is why I dive into, there's like 5 specific areas of self-care, because a lot of people think self-care is as very tangible, like I went shopping and I bought this and it makes me feel good, or I took a bath and I'm relaxed, so it makes me feel good, versus the other aspects of self-care that people don't even think about, such as social self-care. Like that is a huge aspect of self-care. And as military spouses, we neglect that because we move and we just automatically think like, oh, well, I'm not going to make any friends in this area. And, I'm all alone here, instead of taking the power back and putting our self-care at the forefront.
Yes. Yeah. And I wanted to ask, how did you come up with the 5 areas of self-care? Was that research based, or was that, kind of personal experience?
A little bit of both, actually. Research-based, I really found that research-based, it was physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual.
Okay.
Those were like the 4 things that most people have researched. The social one, I felt like was more of a personal take on it. Because we as humans, we crave human interaction. That's research-based. We know that as humans, we crave interaction, we crave love, we crave acceptance. That's who we are as humans. And so why wouldn't that be an aspect of self-care that we need to focus on, especially in the military lifestyle that we live, of moving all the time and deployments, and our lobster per se, disappearing for weeks to months on end. So why shouldn't we focus on the social aspect of self-care? So that's where those 5 came in. Because again, like when you hear self-care, you see physical, emotional, and mental. Research shows there's also the spiritual aspect of it, and spiritual looks different for everybody. And then in my personal experience and through my personal research of talking to other military spouses and such, that's where I came up with the 5th one to focus on.
No, I mean, and that was actually a part that like really resonated with me, because I just moved. So I'm currently in the stage of like making new friends, and I just celebrated a birthday, and I was like, we have like 5 people that got like, I have like 5 friends now. Like, yeah. Like,
Exactly.
and I think that's something that too really uniquely speaks to the military community, where a lot of people that aren't involved in this community like just don't understand like the concept of you straight up reset your social life every 2 to 3 years.
Every single time. Every
Yeah.
single time. I mean, before I became a military spouse, even when I was a college student, and even when we first got married and such, like of have built-in friends. Like you have a job or you have school and you have classes and you kind of have like built-in friends. Even if you're not super close with them, they're still your social circle that you see them on a regular basis and such like that. But when you're a military spouse, particularly a lot of military spouses either work from home or don't work, and take care of kids and things like that, it can become very isolating and lonely when you have to pick up and move and start over your social circle every 2 to 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And I haven't even done like the kid part of that yet. That's like, we're going to start trying next year. So I definitely have the itch. I'm like asking, I'm glad that we're friends.
Adds a whole new dynamic. It adds a whole new dynamic to your life, but in a good way, you start worrying about your kids' friends too, and their social part of it and how that plays into your family. And, but having your own personal autonomy of a social interaction with people is really important. Like, I try really hard to not just have mom friends. I try really hard to also have friends of, all walks of life, because that way they're my friends. It's a selfish thing, but I need it,
Yeah, no, I totally, like, I think the equivalent for me too is like, I pride myself when I have like civilian friends and like not just military friends, or like we talk about things.
Yep. If it's your soul, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
And that's another thing about this book that I really try to hit home, and I hope it does, is that you need to be unapologetic of your self-care, because self-care is not selfish. If you do it the right way, sometimes people can move it into the more selfish category of, well, this is my self-care, so I'm going to neglect everything and everyone around me. And that's not what it is.
Yeah.
With this book, it's self-soul, and the purpose of it is to make you a better human and to make you feel human again. Yes. That is not selfish. And so if feeding your soul is making sure you have civilian and military friends, you do that, Ashley, unapologetically. That's my motto anyways. So.
No, I agree 100%. And, I often say too that like really, like, especially for people that do feel like, oh, like I can't be selfish, but we have to take care of ourselves to show up as the best, spouse, mother, like professional, like wherever you're at, like you have to take care of yourself to show up as your best version, like in the world.
Yep.
So important.
Yep.
So one thing I really wanted to hit on, because I'm so, I want to respect your time as well. But I love the calendars, and like, I'm sorry, like the calendars and the appendix in this book are like worth their weight in gold. I was like, everyone needs this. Everyone needs it.
Thank you.
How, because again, it was such a unique take that I'd never seen. Like, how did you develop those?
This was my thought process. How do I make something so personal to every single person be also attainable and also guidable, like to guide them, right? So that was my thought going into it. And I thought, most deployments, are under a year. So what if I broke it into smaller bite-sized pieces? So that's when I came up with the calendar idea. So there's no dates on the calendar. You can see that. There's no dates on the calendars. There's no months on the calendar. So it's completely customizable. But it makes it where, for example, my husband has a 4-month deployment coming up. So I can think to myself, using the worksheets and things that I provided in the book, I can think to myself, what areas of self-care am I lacking? What area of self-care do I want to focus on? And then I can pull the calendars that go with those self-care areas that I want to work on. So each of the calendars, just for any of you who have not seen this book, which I have a copy right here, I'm just saying, each of the calendars are broken up into 4 weeks, 4 to 5 weeks. And each of those, I'm just going to show. Each of those have a theme on top, and then 4 challenges that go with that theme, and then a create your own week. So you can take, like, for example, this one is managing stress. Everybody wants that, right? Oh, yeah. So this would go with more of the emotional self-care. Okay. So there's several challenges on here for you to pick from, to guide from, and then you can plug them into this week track of how you want to better yourself in that category. Okay. So that was my thought process with the calendars, is I thought, well, this way, like if I have this 4-month calendar, maybe I want to manage my stress better. Maybe I want to have a better miracle morning and really make my life more productive. Maybe I want to start working out again, get rid of that baby fat. There's lots of different things I can do. And I can take those, customize them, and move things around as I see fit. And that's the beauty of it. There's no deadlines. There's no timelines. It's yours because it's your self-care. Yes. But through a lot of research and personal digging, these challenges were born, and these themed months were born. I kind of sat there and thought of those 5 different months and thought, 5 different areas of self-care, and thought, what would be related to that most people would want to better themselves in. Yeah. So that was kind of the thought process behind it. And I hope it comes across as more of a guide, like
yes.
guide you.
I would definitely say that. I mean, like I said, when I got into them, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so, it's great because again, it's that structured kind of flexibility where, you have, again, the guide, especially like, I think, for someone that's just getting into self-care and like starting to actually prioritize themselves, especially if they're, a mom too, which I think can be really, really difficult because there's so much like mommy guilt, that comes into it. Right.
Yes.
And like having the space to say, okay, like here's what I'm working on. And I also love in each of your sections, it's not just here's what I want to work on, but like also here's what I'm crushing. So like the celebration of here's things that I'm doing well. So it's a really holistic approach. And I just, I want, and like, regardless, like obviously it speaks to the military spouse, but I think anyone in the military community, and honestly, any busy woman is going to get so much value out of this book.
Yeah, I really obviously like my military spouses, but I did want to make sure that everything that I put on there can also be like moved on to those that were retired military spouses that are now civilians, to people who are, girlfriends of military members that they're gone. They don't have the same military life, but they can still use the deployment, use the separation, use the time that they have to better themselves, because why not? Like that's me. Like why? And I loved how you just noticed in my worksheets about the crushing part, because I did want to make sure that it wasn't all about how you're doing this terrible, you're not taking care of yourself, so here's how I'm gonna fix you. It's because that's not what it is. This book is about helping them find it themselves and figuring out what they want to better and what they're crushing. Like I crush my bath, like my weekly bath day. Crush it. I take that hour to myself with no guilt whatsoever, and it's amazing. But I'm not so good at the working out part, like, so those are like, it's a self-reflection of what we're doing good and what we're not. So
well, to kind of wrap up, where can people find your book, first of all?
You can actually find it a couple different places. So on my Instagram page, there's links in my profile. I've also believe I linked them in Facebook, but if not, I will do that today. So you can find it in 2 different places. You can find it in a PDF format, where it will be downloadable directly to your computer, and you can print off pages as you want. Mm-hmm. Or you can also get a hard copy of the book. I should say soft copy, but you can get a actual copy of the book through Amazon. Amazon sells this beauty. This way you can scribble all in it. It's already printed for you. Good to go.
Awesome.
The Amazon version of it is $15 and the online version of it is $10. So it's really just dependent on what you want in your budget. But I personally think with everything in here, that's a steal.
I
100%
agree.
Because it's just chock full of stuff. There's all calendar in here where somebody who has kind of their act together and know what they want to work on can like print off or make copies of that blank calendar and crush whatever their goal is on their own. So, and like you said, there's also an appendix in the back that has everything from sugar scrub recipes.
Yeah.
Those are things that I really enjoy. Yeah, I enjoy that. To a plank challenge, to journaling pages, to a purging challenge, and then my personal favorite, the capsule wardrobe for military
Yes.
spouses.
Oh my gosh. That was like mind blown. I'm gonna do that actually. I'm really excited.
I'm working now that I'm done wearing maternity clothes. I'm totally going to a capsule wardrobe right now. So
Yeah.
I've been purging my closet and really focusing on those pieces. So that's my self-care goal for the summer, is to go to a capsule wardrobe completely instead of, I've been piecemealing it because I've been pregnant or nursing for so long. So I've just been piecemealing it, but we're going to go whole hog now. So.
Oh, I love it. Well, I'll be sure to share those links as well everywhere I post this. And then where else can people find you?
So you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and on my website. So my website is www.mrs.navymama.com, and it's MAMA mama.com. Also, you can find me on Instagram at Mrs. Navy Mama and Facebook. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate this. And yeah, I know so many people are going to get a ton of value out of your book. I know I have, and I'm excited to continue digging into it and printing out some calendars.
Yay, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have a great rest of your Sunday.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.